Now here with me in the studio is my first guest, Annette Fix. She is the author of, can you see that? The Breakup Diet. So with me is Annette Fix, author of The Breakup Diet. And it's not a book about why men cheat. It's actually a book about a life of a fairy tale that you were the only person who believed in your dream of finding this man, right?
Right.
And all your friends said, oh, give it up, Annette, it's not going to happen, just settle. And you continue to pursue your dream. And it ends up being a really lovely fairy tale story at the very end. But you know, this book, honestly, though, you're such a good writer that it will make the reader laugh, and unfortunately, it will make them cry too. And my mom cried too when I read one little expert out of it. My mom said she started crying, but then totally laughed. So how did you go about writing this book?
You know, it actually started out as just journaling after I got dumped by the guy that I was in a relationship with. Yeah, I know. I read a piece of my journal to a girlfriend. She's like, oh my God, that's hysterical. You should write that as a book. And I thought, really? I don't know. So I just started writing it as it was happening. I didn't know what the ending was going to be. It could have been 900 pages of like rotten dating stories.
Yeah.
But it turned out to be my happily ever after with the prince and the sunset and the whole deal. So it's turned out really well, and it's been a lot of fun.
Now you're a good example too, even especially after all this fiasco is going on. It's a really good example because you are a big believer in full disclosure dating, right? How do you say
Absolutely. Full disclosure dating.
Okay, you say it better than me. And so if you want to tell the viewers, you know, how you came about that, or you just decided, hey, I'm going to tell the men what they need to know and they can decide if they want to date me or not.
That was really it. I spent so much time just going through relationships. You get into a relationship with somebody, and especially because at the time I was a single mother working as a dancer. I mean, not exactly what you would consider the best, you know, on paper scenario of somebody you'd want to go out with. So I finally got to the point of, you know, so many failed relationships that I decided, you know what, I'm just going to throw it all out there. This is me, you know, the good, the bad, and the ugly. And I put it out there and ended up finding my prince.
Oh yeah, you definitely did. The thing I want to ask you, and I'm curious, and I know the viewers are curious, and my hairstylist April Tommy is curious, and a shout out to April, is she wants to know, you were a single mom, for the man who was the father of your son left you when you were 5 months pregnant, so you raised your son all by yourself, all alone, and you are college educated, you're a very smart, articulate woman, you're an editor, you know, an author. How was it that you came to decide that you wanted to be an exotic dancer for a living?
You know, that's a question I get a lot. You know, it really turned out to be I wanted to pursue a creative lifestyle and wanted to become a writer. So after I was working 40 hours a week, homeschooling my son, you know, just trying to put it all together, I just wasn't making ends meet. So because I live down in Orange County, where it's a nice, affluent, you know, wealthy area, to say the least,
yeah,
full of Christian Republicans,
who like to go to the gentleman's club.
Yeah, you know what? Believe it or not,
while their wives are at home baking pies.
Thanksgiving, the night before Thanksgiving was like the best time in the club. As a matter of fact, they all came in to get out of the way while the women are running around screaming, "The pie, the pie!"
And they were like, "Yeah, the pie, the pie." No, that's a bad joke. We want your pie.
But yeah, it was really one of the best jobs I've actually had because of the flexibility, the fact that I could take the time to homeschool my son, pursue my writing, and still afford to live in an affluent area. It was really, as far as my opinion, the smartest thing I could have done at the time to be able to do that and still homeschool my son.
Right, because you're a pretty strong woman, so it didn't bother your, you know, personality like a lot of people probably took pot shots at you for that, right?
You know what, I kept both of the lives completely separate. I didn't really get involved in the club culture. I didn't do bachelor parties. You know, I just worked specifically at the club and kept it separate. There were a few times it was hard though, because a lot of times you would see, you know, the Little League dads coming in. So when I'm working the snack bar at the Little League, you know, I've got the hat on, the glasses, you know, the overalls, trying to be completely incognito. But I was able pretty much to keep it separate for quite a while actually.
Yeah, and then unfortunately, I mean, I don't know if you want to tell a story about how your son found out. I mean, your son was 12. It was his 13th birthday, right?
13th birthday, yeah.
And some bimbo that worked in the club, you were on the phone with him, right? And some bimbo in the club just shouted out and...
Yeah, I was actually backstage on the phone with him, making sure that, you know, he'd gotten everything together and was getting ready for bed. I was working a weekend night shift, the 9 to 2 shift. and was talking to him on the phone, and she came staggering in, you know, drunk and cussing and that sort of thing, and I kind of gave her the I'm on the phone sign, and she's like, what the F, you know, we're all effing strippers, you know, and I'm just like, oh no.
My son!
Yeah. And that was pretty much about it. So I managed to get off the phone with him, you know, real quick, and kind of got a hold of her and said, you know, that was my kid on the phone.
Yeah.
And she's like, well, this is a strip club, you shouldn't have been on the phone with your kid, and blah, 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 you know, that sort of thing. So when I called him back, it was a little bit strange, you know, but he never said anything about it, and he's going to be 21 actually this weekend.
Oh wow! Well, happy birthday to him.
Yeah, so some time has passed, and he knows about it. I was always mom to him. I was mom, I was teacher, I was, you know, confidant.
That's the other thing I want to talk
so.
about, because you chose to homeschool your son.
Yes.
And so a lot of people are going to be curious, like, number one, why, and then how hard was that?
The reason why I chose to homeschool him, actually, he was having a lot of problems through elementary school, and about the time he entered junior high, I was hearing, oh, he's got ADD, ADHD, he can't concentrate, he's failing, that sort of thing. And I knew that wasn't the case, so it was really difficult for him to do well in school. And I just decided, you know what, I can do a better job.
Right.
So
Yeah.
I pulled him out of school, and I found out as I started doing some more research that he was a kinesthetic learner.
That means touch.
Yes,
A lot of people
yes.
don't know that.
Yeah.
Auditory, visual, and kinesthetic. So.
Yeah, absolutely. So kinesthetic learners, and I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of the kids that are actually in school that are doing poorly, who are having to go to continuation schools or drop out, you know, are actually kinesthetic learners.
Right.
Because the school doesn't, it's not a one-size-fits-all education. It just doesn't fit everybody.
I completely agree with
So-
that. I completely agree. And there's, like you said, a lot of people probably think, oh, this kid has ADD, but the school system, all they do is teach them one way, which is auditorially.
Right.
They just sit there, and I'm a visual person myself.
Right.
So, you know, in class, I would pay attention. I mean, I was the same way your son was. I got sent to the dean's office because I always made everybody laugh. I was the
Right.
class clown, and Vicki, get down to the office, because I didn't want to pay attention because blah, 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 you know, but I could pick up and read. You know, so that's why your son, you know, he's visual, he's kinesthetic, so
Right.
to have you show him and help him.
Yeah, that seemed to work out really well. I started directing him into photography, so he actually now, at the age of almost 21, is working as a professional wedding photographer.
Wow, well,
So-
that's really
so that's-
good to hear about that, because a lot of people don't even think, I think people have the image of homeschooling as people who can't cut it in school. I don't think that they think, okay, here's an articulate woman, and you had an English degree yourself, right? So
Yeah.
you're an English major, helped them with that, and then there's certain protocol that you follow with what they send you, guides and everything to help teach.
Actually, there are different schools of thought for homeschooling. I chose to unschool, which was really to focus on the things he was interested in and to use that across the curriculum. So that worked out really well. He actually did go back to public school for high school, and he graduated with, you know, 3.6, and, you know, played sports all 4 years and was able to do just fine.
And it worked out.
So it worked out.
Well, Annette, I want to thank you for coming on, viewers. Annette is the author of The Breakup Diet. It's a memoir, and it's extremely interesting. You can find it online, and it will make you laugh, and it will make you cry.